All right, my dogs. Good morning. Good morning. It is 6:31. It is Tuesday. Hopefully, everyone's feeling well. A little different morning, right? Yesterday we walked in. The futures were down like 150 handles. I tried to isolate some really good areas in the spies to cues in 4 or 5 or 6 key names to potentially buy in the hole for a great trade. And now this morning, futures are up 60, 70 handles. Hopefully you were prepared. Hopefully you profited from it. At this point, we'll navigate from here. My name is Scott Redler. I am the Chief Strategic Officer of T3Live.com, founder of Red Dog Mindset. Thank you for tuning into the 630 Club. I've been doing the 630 Club every day since 2020. Hopefully, you've been finding value. I give you the keys to the day, some levels to watch. And, from there, a lot of you have become members of the Alpha team where we trade all day long together, figuring out how to handle certain stocks, certain situations, certain narratives, and with Redler Premium. And then some of you guys just worked out with me this morning for the 28,520, where we discussed levels in our head. And yesterday, I think we were in the sauna talking about 480 to 485 to buy the spies in the hole. And now here we are, into this up open. But anyway, that was then. This is now. Here's a chart of the spies. So if you look yesterday, the reason why I came up with this 480 level was really from looking back more on the weekly chart. But so we hit 481.80. We reclaimed 493. We took back 505 of a few different times yesterday. That was the low from Friday and went as high as almost 523. So now the question is, everyone's like, Red Dog, what kind of bounce are we going to have? Can we buy it after the open? Is it going to hold? Is it going to fade? Listen, these are all valid questions. What you do know is where yesterday's high is, around 523, where this gap is. And the question is, does it fill this gap? Doesn't have to be today, between now and the next few days. So the spies right now are up $7. So that's a nice follow through. It's a nice little follow through, right? If you bought in the hole yesterday, and made good money, or covered in the hole, and then you have some now, hopefully, you're selling some into this gap up. Remember the day count rules and my sell rules. So here's the Alpha team. These are my dogs that trade with me all day long. They could see what I come along. I'm not so long. I'm long some spies. I'm long some Soxel. Soxel is the semis. I'm long some Dash, which acted really well, and I'm long some IBIT. And I did buy some options. The 520s and the 525s, and some Soxel. And then I have a few leftover ones. So, I'm not huge long, but it's nice to come in and get a little head start, right? Sometimes a little head start of the day, gets your mind right and gets you feeling good. And if you don't come in long because you think the volatility was high, it is what it is. Chances are you saved yourself a lot of pain, in those days we gap down big. So anyway, what do I think? Where can we go? What's the easy bounce? Well, you have 523, and if it wants to fill that gap, this would be, an area that we could probably get to. There's going to be a lot of news flow. What countries are coming to the table? Israel took all the taxes or the tariffs down, and we did that. I think we're waiting to hear a little bit more about Japan. China is still going like this with us, so you're gonna still have some volatility. So don't be upset if you're not that long. I would just put yourself in a position to see where we can go. I think that if we do get to 523, 536, chances are I might put some hedges on, because that's a big rally from 481 to here. That's 40, 50 points, and it probably isn't today. But you want to do the roadmap. So that's one spot, and then the bigger spot, really big spot, is right here. This is a wall. Like if we went back to here this week, I might even take off a little bit of the blood in the street account, because I don't think that this 481.80 is going to be the low over the next multiple months. We still have to get through earnings season. We still have to have probably revisions. There's so much that has to happen. So mechanically, we're oversold enough. We're minus 100, to work that off. But I don't think this is going to be like a V bottom back towards highs. Like, remember this V bottom here? This was the summer. This was your V bottom, and then it penetrated right there, went right back to the highs, made a higher low, and then boom. I don't think that's the case. But again, at this point, let's not worry about that. Let's map out levels. And right now, that is, even if we get there, we might have to hang out in here a little bit, build a little bit of an inside box formation before that. You never know how many days it's going to be. The Qs yesterday did lead us higher. So the Qs are worth noting. Okay. The low here yesterday was let's see, 402. Reclaim that. It did on that news that maybe there could be a 90-day pause, which was fake news. What's it called? It went to 443. So this 443 to 450 is a spot. If you want to do the same thing with a quadrant, here's your quadrant right there, 443 to 450. That would be that spot. And if you remember yesterday, I spoke about narrowing your focus, that you can't look at 100 things. You could go with the spies, the Qs, and then see what can go green first. And yesterday, Amazon and Meta were the two that I said we could be focusing on. And then you also had Dash, which went green really first. And then you also had Palantir and NVIDIA. Those were the 5 keys besides the indices. So hopefully, you looked at some of them, you got involved, you made some money, you weren't frozen, your mind wasn't all screwed up, you weren't dealing with all the headlines and all the networks out there. Because the mental game is much more important than even the X's and O's and the levels. And that is why, I've been, if you guys have been looking, I'm teaming up with M1 Performance, Evan with Red Dog Mindset. We're doing a webinar on Wednesday. Write it down at 7 o'clock and register. I showed you guys yesterday right here. So this is Red Dog Mindset. Remember yesterday I showed you, first of all, all of the different charts. So this is good to great. This is something I'm doing, Red Dog Mindset with Evan from M1. If you go on here, you'll see how you could register. Okay, really going over, and this is the perfect time for this, right? The fine line between losing a little and losing a lot, making a little and making a lot, taking your game to the next level. There are some guys who've made a few $100,000 that thought they should have made a few million or made a few million. It's all about your execution. There are always things holding you back, whether you didn't make money short because you're not a great short. Maybe you need to figure out what's holding you back there. Or maybe yesterday you were deer in headlights when the first half an hour. So there's all these things that make us tick. And Evan, is one of the best in the business. He also was a hedge fund manager back in the day, so he knows how traders think. And he usually deals with the top CEOs in the world and these major performance athletes. And he's willing to talk a little bit about what he does to get them from good to great for all of us. So with that being said, register. But at this particular point, we need to go over some of the X's and O's and go over a little bit of where some of these other names can get to. So let's get back to our trend spider, where you can see the charts. And again, there's the Qs. Amazon was really good. Amazon, look at that wide range move. Amazon reclaimed actually Friday's low first. It got above 166. I told you guys yesterday you should be watching Amazon for a really good trade, and it worked. I think today, if you're long some, trim some, I wouldn't be thinking it's going to be getting much above 184. What's Amazon right now? Amazon is only up 3 and change. So it's actually better to go with the SPYs. But yesterday there was more alpha in Amazon. It all depends on how it's going. Amazon was good. It's getting a little bit of follow through. If you went with Meta's up another 4, giving a little bit of follow through. Let me go back to Amazon for a second. So Amazon is 179. So you have a little bit of room to yesterday's high. So I would say a lot of things have a little bit of room to yesterday's highs, but yesterday's highs was a little bit higher than it probably should have been because of the talk of a tariff reprieve that didn't happen. But anyway, so with that being said, SPYs are 512. There's room, like I said, to 520, 523 if it wants to get there. There's Amazon. Meta was good. A lot of the names that have to do with China, because China is still, causing friction, did not rally well. Apple did not rally well. Tesla did not rally well. So they were good to kind of watch. NVIDIA did. NVIDIA might be a fade today, to be honest, but it has room to this 103, the 8-day. We'll see how the 8-day has been getting rejected. The 8-day has been rejected and has been a good roadmap since this whole corrective phase has happened. So remember yesterday, I'm like, you could be a buyer into the low 80s, and we reclaimed 92, and it went as high as 101.74. So at this point, we will see, does any names have enough juice to get above yesterday's highs or even get back there? That'll be a spot. And if you're going to short this up open, just make sure you're not doing it in no man's land and know where you could trade around it. So let me see some of my dogs. Let me see some of the comments here, because you can comment on StreamYard, on Twitter, on YouTube, wherever you're watching it. And here we are. So let's get a little kaleidoscope so you could see everyone's comments. All right, so you got Blair. What a game last night. Oh, yeah. So congratulations to the Gators. I will say Houston put up a nice fight, but congratulations to them. Just so you know, these kids are not overnight successes. They've been putting 2 days in since they're 5 years old. So I love seeing the emotion. I love seeing the glory. But anyway, so that's Blair and Dash. Yeah, Dash was great. Thanks for all you do. I appreciate that. What up, Patrick? Good morning. Bitcoin isn't really oversold, and it's kind of in no man's land. I wouldn't be over focusing that. We got Scott from Massapequa, the mobile trader. What'd you say? What? Where are you? What? There's another fake news. Let's see. Joe Mama says, "Yo, good morning from Jose." A lot of people very excited about the national championship. That's cool. I love to see it. Let's see. Anyone have any quick questions or want me to throw up some quick charts for different names? Yes, a new day. Every day is a new day. Every day above ground is a great day. All right, so let me bring this over here so I could see it. So somebody asked me about Tesla. You want me to show you the chart of Tesla? You know, Tesla also came up to the 8-day. Tesla, I guess it is a small win that it did not make a new low, right? It went as low as what? What was yesterday's low? Oh, actually it did. It went below 218 and reclaimed 218 and 222. That's that's 214. So I might as well put that new point of reference in. I'm not trading Tesla as much. I think Tesla is too much of a battleground right now between, everyone's over emotion against the presidential administration and what he's doing. So to me, that's been a little harder. Palantir was a great trade. Very strong, one of the best. I agree, JC. So JC asked me about Palantir. Palantir, yes, I did say was holding up really well. Hood was holding up really well. Mr. I think is kind of tricky. So let's be careful with Mr. Let's go first with Palantir. Look at that reversal in Palantir. What a nice trade. This went below and reclaimed this 71.93. Came up to the 8-day yesterday. So we'll see. Does anything have really real strength, or is it just really, that type of bounce? And went as low as what? 66.12. Almost got to the 200-day. So many names are below the 200-day, and Palantir isn't. So Palantir is really emerging as a leader once again. So you want to move Palantir up the go-to list. That's what I would do. It's up mine. I actually, the most money I made in a name, yes, it was Palantir. I was buying it to go red to green, and then the market goosed, and I made a good 3-4 points on it. That was cool. Do I think another bear flag and we go down? It's hard to tell. I don't think this is going to be over. I don't think all of a sudden, like, he's just going to negotiate and there's going to be no tariffs anywhere. I kind of really think that this earnings season is going to be lukewarm. Guidance is not going to be great. And why would it be just one quarter? And he's doing the job that he wanted. I was on Fox Business literally 3-4 weeks ago. I told you, the administration wants rates down. The administration is cutting out spending. They're constricting government agencies, Doge. So they have to do this because of the crazy spending. So overall, the PE was too high, the S&P, and basically this can go on for a little while. So is yesterday's low going to be the low of 2025? Yeah, I'm not going to give my answer on that right now. That's not what we should be focused on. You should be focused on where can this rally get to and the action of the key names. So here's Palantir. What's Palantir doing this morning? It's probably up a bunch. It's up $1.35. So the names that had a really good bounce yesterday burnt off a little bit of the oversold condition. That's why they're not up as much. The SPY still had some room. I've trimmed a little bit of the SPYs I had overnight. I can't do anything with the options until 9:30 like the rest of you. But Palantir was good. Dash, I'm still long. It's up 3. That's really good. Dash has been great. You gotta move Dash up your go-to list. Like Dash also went to the 200 days. So just so you guys know, the SPYs, look how below the 200-day it is. The SPYs at 200 days all the way up here. And something like a Dash and a Palantir are just getting back to the 200-day and reclaimed it. Look at the size of that rally yesterday. So it almost went back to the 8-day. So when this market's ready for something a little bit more, I would think that Dash is something that you can go with. We started trading Dash a lot better, or got a little more comfortable with Dash back here. This is when it came on my go-to. I never traded Dash before, and then right here, and that look at that reversal and that relative strength on August 5th. and it's been showing relative strength since. But again, just like every other market timer, this ascending channel broke to the downside. This ascending channel broke to the downside. So now we'll see what happens here. Kind of get above yesterday's high. That's, what is that? 175.99. So let's write that in. 175.99. I would not be buying any strength today, though. I'm going to try not to, at least. I need 2 good days in a row. I've been taking a lot of, 1 and 2 steps forward, and then the 2.5 steps back. I'd like to take 2 steps forward and take a breath today, just like everybody else. I'm sure it's been very complicated out there. So when it's complicated out there, it's really about controlling what you can control. That's why every day I'm up early, drink a huge glass of water, then I, settle in, take my dog out for a walk, and get to watch her. It's pretty amusing. That's what settles me out. Then I sit down with her. I hold a bone, and then I look at all the news. Europe, I looked at, was up about 1%. The Nikkei bounced 6%. The Hang Seng was up. So I'm like, all right, our futures are probably up. Futures are up where they are. So if you took some for a little bit of follow through, you're getting it, and then we have to figure it out. Stack winning trades. You keep stacking them, you're going to feel good. Your size will get bigger and better, and you'll start, doing some things that can make you some more money. Yeah, Reddit was a good trade. So Peter Sullivan, which is right here, says, I did talk about Reddit. I gave you guys that chart yesterday. Gunlock says 45 inches the bottom. All right. Yeah, Meta was pretty good. I did play Apple yesterday. Apple wasn't great, to be honest, because of the China exposure. Let's go to Meta first. In the lag sevens, what did it do? It reclaimed 494, got above 530, and probably has some room up towards the 8-day. What's yesterday's high? Yesterday's high is 539.37. So let's put that in 539.30. I like to put points of references, and I'd rather look at points of reference, or versus what people have to say, because a lot of my friends follow McClellan or this, that. And to be honest, these guys are all horrendous. Like, I'm not going to talk smack about Dan Ives, but I'm going to talk a little smack about Dan Ives. The guy was the biggest cheerleader in his orange and yellow suits, talking about the super cycles and the this and that, cheerleading Tesla and Apple and all those things. And then when they broke the 820 day, he was still cheerleading and cheerleading and cheerleading. And yesterday, he downgrades everything in the belly of the beast. I hate when analysts do that. I hate when they switch at a low, and he's no longer wearing his lime green suits. He went in with a black suit, like the death of tech. Anyway, not a lot of value, and charts and volume don't lie. I'm not saying analysts do, but usually they're not in the trenches trading, and their time frame isn't the same. So with that being said, we'll see what happens with Meta. Meta had a really nice move yesterday, and now we'll see what kind of bounce happens. I just showed you guys Meta. Meta is up at 519. So actually, there's some room. Did Meta really get up to 539 in that yesterday? Wow. So a lot of things, have these topping tails where they went to as when they got that push, when everyone thought that all of a sudden maybe there'd be a 90-day, whatever it was, which was fake news, and no one should ever be posting stuff like that. You can get in a lot of trouble. So with that being said, so there's room. So you have a roadmap. It's actually, this is even at 530, right? This yesterday was actually, this is 518. Where's 530 come from? Oh, this is the gap fill right there, and this is right here. This is this candlestick. I like to be precise. Red Dog likes precision. When you're a technician, you need to know the rubber match spots, the pivots, the battlegrounds, because that's where the fight happens between the Bulls and the Bears. The Bulls, the Bears. So 518 to 5, and this is 530. So again, you want to kind of really, if you're a micro focusing, 518 to 530, then here's 539. Right now, this is at 519. So there is some room. So maybe you can carve out, yeah, but the pop was fake. Yeah, that's true. So that's why I'm trimming a little bit. If you actually go to the alpha team, which is where people spend the whole day with me, they'll see that I came in along the SPYs and I trimmed some at 629. I came along Soxel, I trimmed some. I didn't do anything with Dash. I didn't do anything with IBIT, and obviously options I can't do. So I'm not buying this open. This market needs to prove to me that you could buy anything higher. It's been hard enough to buy something in the hole, let alone paying up for it. Yes, it's true, mobile trader. Lastly, okay, so you want to take a look at IBIT. to me, this was kind of predatory. On Thursday, Friday, it looked like it was decoupling. It looked like it was showing relative strength. I got along the IBIT and options, and yesterday it was one of my bigger losers. I stayed with it. It's up 60 cents, so it doesn't know what it wants to do. So I would say watch this level. The longer it stays below this, the higher probability it's not done going down. So I am still in some, but I am going to probably trim a little bit and then see this was support, turns into resistance, and that's 4606. And so there is some room like everything else, but I'm not over trading Bitcoin for now because I think it's not crazy oversold and it's also not showing crazy relative strength. So it's a little bit in no man's land. So what you want to do is just see, does it stay in this lower range, or does it have any kind of better bounce? And then at some point we could continue to draw this downtrend into another area and then see. So either which way, listen, it's 6:52. Hopefully, for those of you who are members of Red Dog Mindset now and getting the mind right and having whiteboard weekends, I think getting the mind right is key. For those of you who want to, listen to one of the best in the business, Evan Marks from M1 Performance, join with me Wednesday at 7:00. Make sure you register for that. That's going to be awesome. For those of you who are having a little bit of trouble, it's only April 8th. It's only the second quarter. We have a lot of year left. Forgive yourself. But what you have to do is say, hey, this is my fault. I need to change. I need to do things different. How do you do things different? First, acknowledge the fact that you need to do things different. Maybe you need better prep. Maybe you need better chart work. Maybe you need a better morning routine. Maybe you have to deal with some things you've never dealt with before. But either which way, if you take accountability, you can move forward. You don't need to be perfect, to be happy. You just need to make a little progress. A little progress is always good. And progress is something different to everyone. So just to leave you one more time before we go, the SPYs, here's your roadmap. You have 505, which are above, and then we're below this. This is what? This is this is 525. That's where the gap starts. Let me put that in there. 525. Doesn't mean it has to be today. Listen, the oscillator went from minus 110 to minus 60. So if the oscillator wants to get back to neutral, maybe it wants to do something in the zone. Right now, we're right around here. So there's a little bit more room. If you short here and it gets to 523 and then reverses, you're shorting in no man's land. What I would do is if you have a short in the brain, wait for a 5-15-minute high short versus that and then see if we fade. If you don't come in long, you're like, wow, I just missed a big move from yesterday's low to the open. You also have to be patient. Hopefully, you made a little bit of money buying in the hole yesterday and covering some shorts. Took a little bit. You're a little ahead of the game, and you can take a deep breath and let it roll off the shoulders. Your 401k is down 8.9%, but have 15 years. All right. So if you do have a 401k, stay the course. If you have a 529 for your kids, stay the course. If you don't have a 529 and your child is like 3, 4, or 5, now's the time to start. You could get 16, 70% off the highs, because I got to believe historically in the next 1, 2, 3, 4 years, we're going to be back at all-time highs in the S&P, and you will have started with 16, 17, 18% off the highs, and that'll help you pay for college. Don't ask for bailouts. Take accountability. I used to MC bar mitzvahs and weddings, come home twice a month from Albany while I was president of my fraternity playing flag football. You could do it. Do a little bit of everything. The more you do, the more self-esteem you'll have, and that's about that. And as far as the Blood in the Street account, I did put 2 tiers to work. It's half in. And we'll see. I did not put anything to work. I need to get the lows of the day. If something happens Wednesday or Thursday where China comes to the table and it seems like there's a little bit more negotiation, whatever, and we get some kind of squeeze up towards this area, which I'm not saying is going to happen, but could happen, and it happened fast, I might even reduce some of the Blood in the Street account, because I kind of don't think that yesterday's low is going to be the low of the next 3 to 6 months. But again, we're going to go day by day, week by week, because we trade for a living, and you get to stack days to let it add up to get a paycheck. All right, my dogs, I appreciate you. I'll see you. I'm going to go post my 40 charts for Redler All Access and the Alpha team. And if you've just been watching the 20, if you've been just watching the 630 Club getting value, make sure, maybe you want to figure out how to get your mind right so you could execute on these X and O's and make more money. And then you can provide a better life for your family, which is not all about money. It's about happiness and progress. Later, guys. PM.